Christmas is a joyful time, especially for children, thinking about Santa and elves and nothing scary at all. But it shouldn't be like that. Today we will be talking about some mythical Christmas creatures that you can tell your kids to scare them, or some other kids, but I don't know why you would be hanging out with other kids. Anyway, before we get into it, if you're new here, hello, and if you're returning, it's good to see you again. Alright, let's get into it. The Merry Lude, or the Christmas zombie horse, is a skeleton horse who rose from the dead, bringing back many to the living world with her. You'll hear her rhyming in the street, waiting for someone to let her in. And anyone who's seen her describes her shining lights for eyes, streamers and ivory as her mane, and a white cloak that falls from her skull. The Merry Lude wants to get inside your house, and if you let her get too close, the last thing you'll hear is her snapping jaw. Unless you can outwit her, but in rhyme. Like a rap battle.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
The Merry Lude is a Welsh tradition stemming from pagan rituals. Pre-Christianity, it involved poor people trying to get through the harsh winter, entertaining families for food and money. These people would puppeteer their version of a hobby horse. A hobby horse is one of those decapitated horse head toys. They dressed it up with bells and holly, and some would wear costumes of the dead themselves. Throughout the years, the tradition has obviously changed and its popularity has fluctuated, landing us to today. It is still a fun and popular tradition, partaken in many towns in Wales, usually closer to New Year's rather than Christmas, but that's like a week away, so. La Befana is a witch-like lady, but don't let that scare you. She is the one who leaves sweets and toys in your socks, and in more modern depictions, she'll leave coal for those who have misbehaved, like that creepy fat guy who breaks into children's homes. The Befana originates in Italy, but has also been spotted in parts of Eastern Europe. In Russia, it has the name babushka, although that also just means grandmother or elderly lady, so I don't know how popular the tale is there. The Befana story branches off of Christianity. She was an extremely tidy and clean lady, and one night 3 magi would show up to her door. She would invite them in for refreshments and food, and that's where the magi would tell her about how they were following a star. This star would lead them to the newborn savior, who they had brought gifts for, and in fact they invited La Befana to join them, but with all her cleaning she needed to do, she refused their invite. That's when the magi would continue their journey. As La Befana was sweeping, she felt a sense of regret come over her. So she would gather up some sweets and toys for the newborn and rush after the magi. Yet when she ran out, she couldn't find the magi, and the thought of returning to her spotless house meant nothing. So now with a broom in her hand, a handkerchief on her head, and gifts ready to give, she follows that star that was indicated, giving out candy and toys to all the children she comes across, hoping one day it was the child she sought after all those years ago. The Frau Perchta is a Christmas wish just like La Befana. But running into La Befana, you will receive treats. If you were to encounter Frau Perchta, you would be gutted like a fish and filled with straw. So just a bit more aggressive. Frau Perchta wears rags and has a beaked nose made of iron, with a noticeable weird foot described as a goose foot. So think about that if you're eating goose this Christmas. With all those beautiful looks, she feels entitled to be judgmental. More specifically, judgmental on the cleanliness of your home, and how much flax you spin, as well as if you're naughty or nice. If not enough flax is spun by January 6th, known as Frau Perchta's feast day, Frau Perchta will set fire to all of your work. And if you dared be lazy and not spin any flax, or maybe too lazy to clean your house, or not leaving a bowl of porridge out for her, or just being naughty, she will come to you and she will show you her hidden blade. Next thing you'll know, you'll feel your guts falling out of you and you'll start to notice her collection of straw and stone that she plans to stuff you with. This lovely tale's origin is a bit up for debate. It's pre-Germanic. Germanic is an ancient group of people in history. Think like the Celtic people. That's extremely toned down, but that's another video entirely. This story remains in the same regions though, that being the Alpines of southern Germany and Austria. What makes Frau Perchta even better is that she has shooters on her team, notably the Straggle. The Straggle are helpers of Frau Perchta. During the 12 days of Christmas, the Straggle wander the streets looking for leftovers to eat. If you forget to leave the leftovers out, the Straggle will rob you, which is not as bad as some other Christmas monsters. Oh, also they rip your kids into pieces, sometimes throwing them up in the air, so you get a little show out of it. In some cases, they just rob your children, which is stupid because kids don't have money, and these jolly fellows are often seen in Switzerland. There isn't much about the Straggle other than that they're just shooters who kill children and rob people, but I think they're cool. So we've covered children getting gutted and torn into pieces. So to keep going on this train, we have Grilla, who eats them. Grilla is an Icelandic giant ogre, or troll. Ogress? She emerges from her cave at the mountain to come down and hunt naughty children. When she finds one, she grabs them and puts them in her sack to bring home and cook them in a stew. But don't worry, she does it crab style. That means boiled alive. Some of you might know about Grilla because you had to fight her in God of War. Grilla was such a menace that in 1746, the government had to step in. The Icelandic government had to ban the use of the Grilla tale because children were so terrified of being boiled alive. Which, yeah. Grilla is the mother of the Yule lads and the owner of the Yule cat. and together they all create havoc around the Christmas time. Good old family bonding. The Yulettes have been through many changes in their tale, but they're usually assholes. Their mother is Grilla, the giant ogre who makes child stew, and the cat distribution system gave them the Yule Cat. Earlier in time, they were supposedly much scarier than what they are today. I believe the Icelandic government banning the Grilla tail made the Yule lads tail we know today. That being mischievous lads leaving candy and treats for good children in their shoes left in the windowsill, and rotten potatoes for the naughty children. A lot of the origin stories of the Yule lads differ from each other, but they all describe each other in a different, blunt way. Translated to English, we have Sheepcoat Claude, who harasses sheep and has stiff peg legs. Gully Hawk, who hides in gullies waiting to sneak into cow shits for milk. Stubby is short. Spoon Licker, he licks spoons. Pot Scraper, he steals leftovers from the pot. Bowl Licker, guess what he does? Insurance fraud. Nah, he steals leftovers from bowls. Door Slammer, he slams doors at nights. Skier Gobbler, loves skier, which is like a yogurt. Sausage Swiper, he steals sausages while hiding in the rafters, like Batman. Not the sausage part. Well, maybe. Window Peeper. Doorway Sniffer, who has a big nose to smell leaf bread. Meat Hook, who uses his hook to steal meat. And Candle Stealer, who not only steals candles, but follows children home to do so. A bunch of unoriginal weirdos in my opinion. Okay, onto the cat. The Yule Cat is a bit different from all other Christmas creatures. Most creatures will brutally murder children and adults who are naughty or misbehaving. Well, the Yule Cat says fuck the Geneva Code. It doesn't care about how you behave, it will still rip you into shreds. However, if a mass murderer were to face the Yule Cat, but he received a new clothing item for Christmas, he'll be good. He deserves to live from the Yule Cat's perspective. That's right, in order to survive the Yule Cat, you need to receive some sort of clothes on Christmas. So if Grandma doesn't send those socks, then you best plan your funeral. While all Christmas monsters have a moral to the story, usually being behave or die, the Yule Cat's message is for the farm workers, to incentivize them to finish processing the wool collected earlier in the year. If they did that, they would be rewarded with clothes, and then be safe from the Yule Cat. In translation, your boss tells you to work harder or else a giant cat will murder you. Oh, the Christmas spirit. The Tomta for Sweden communities, or Nis for the Danish and Norwegians, are what we know as gnomes. They usually have a gray or white beards, a red hat, and wool jacket and pants. They are protectors, usually around farms, and they also help out with chores. As long as you leave a bowl of porridge out with butter on the top and don't tempt their short temper, they will be amazing house guests. But if you neglect to do so, they will wreak havoc. One story involves them killing cattle because the porridge didn't have any butter on the top. Only when the niece ate the porridge did he notice the butter on the bottom. There are also stories of the niece just committing murder. If they bite you, you better start praying because their bites are poisonous. However, in recent times, they usually just play pranks and tricks on a victim instead of, the murder.
What murder?
And are known to leave treats and toys for good children, as they have been invisible for most of the year, but always watching.
Always watching.
Le Père Fouettard, or the Whipping Father, was a butcher accompanied by his wife. Infamously, they would lure a trio of young boys to their shop. Père Fouettard would slit their throats and then rob them. Some depictions say they drugged the boys, slit their throats, cut them into pieces, and then threw them in a stew. And just saying, this is the second Christmas folktale that involves children getting eaten in stew. Saint Nicholas, you might have heard of him, unveils the heinous crime and resurrects the children. As punishment, Père Fouettard would have to serve as Saint Nicholas's helper, handing out coal to naughty kids. So like a historical comparison would be the US, more specifically NASA, hiring Nazis to help them out. That was a shitty comparison, but hey, government. Père Fouettard's first appearance was around 1150 to 1250, and was described as a scraggly, unkempt, sinister man with a long beard and dark robes. He is equipped with a whip or a bundle of switches and has a wicker backpack to kidnap children with. He is mainly spotted in regions in France, but could be seen almost all over Europe. This next Christmas creature is actually my home country's version of Santa Claus, Tolvus Papa, or Tolvus Baba, for the country of Georgia, located next to Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia. Tolvus Papa means grandfather snow, and for those lucky enough to see him, they describe his white beard, white hat, and white cape, called an abadi, that was made out of sheep wool. Every New Year's Eve, Tolvus Papa comes down from his abode in the Caucasus Mountains to deliver presents to all the Georgian children. In return, the children leave out chirkella, a treat made of walnuts and grape juice, shaped like sausage and takes around 3 days to make. Christmas is usually celebrated on January 7th, this due to the Georgian Orthodox Church, which follows the old Julian calendar for their festivals. On this day they have a parade called Alilo, where many dress up and sweets are given out while singing carols. Many of the carols people from the United States would recognize. if translated to English. Hello, it's editing me. I'm going to link this song in the description because it's a banger, so if you want to listen to it, it will be there. If these stories influence children to behave, then by all means, not that much trauma, right? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And if you're still here, subscribe, or else the spoon licker will be at your house tonight. Alright, bye.